Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Leo and this is my first video. On this channel, I'm going to be talking about tips and strategies to get into the B school of your choice. So on today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I scored a 740 on the GMAT, what prep courses I use, mock test strategies, and everything else you need to know. I'm going to be referencing my notes that I have up on my screen, so I may be looking away from the camera from time to time. So firstly, preparation courses. Now, there are lots of prep courses available for the GMAT. I personally went with Jamboree and the live online classes, but there are other great options like Magoosh, eGMAT, Target Test Prep, and many more. So choosing between these options is really not going to make or break your score. They all have great resources available, so just check out the platform and see what fits you best. Next, the sectional breakup of the exam. So for Quant and Verbal, I attended the live online classes from Jamboree, which would happen twice a week, one for Quant and one for Verbal. So in these classes, we'd learn new concepts and we would attempt some questions. And post these classes, we would also get an extra bank of questions, almost like homework, that we would then solve based on the concepts that we learned. After we had completed all of these classes, I also started taking some sectional tests that I had available on the Jamboree platform. These were basically for Quant 31 questions in 62 minutes and for Verbal 36 questions in 65 minutes. This allowed me to really get an idea of what a mock test would actually look like before I actually dove into the full-length mock test. A very important tip that I have is please keep a log of all the incorrect answers whenever you're doing any questions. I cannot stress how important this point is, and I think this really drove up my score by 50 or 60 points. I would notice that I'm making the same mistake twice or thrice, but when I had a log of all of these questions, I would reference them, a month down the line, and I would know exactly what I was doing wrong, and this would really help me not make that same mistake in the future. Now, coming to mock tests, I started my mock tests from the Jamboree portal, and I took about 5 or 6 official Jamboree mock tests. In these mock tests, I was scoring anywhere in the range from 710 to 760. And after Jamboree's mock test, I also attempted a Manhattan mock test, which I scored a 710 on, as well as an Experts Global mock test, which I scored a 750 on. So coming to the official GMAT mocks, I took 4 official GMAT mocks in total, and I scored in the range of 710 to 760. While taking these mocks, the number one thing that I learned was managing your time is a vital component of the GMAT. The questions themselves are really not that difficult, and if someone has 7 or 8 minutes per question, I'm sure most people will be able to solve these questions without much difficulty. But the point is that you don't have that much time. You have about 2 minutes per question in Quant and less than that in Verbal. So managing your time well and pacing your exam correctly is a vital component of the GMAT. Next thing I'd like to touch on is your mock test environment. So the first 5 or 6 mock tests I took on my desk at the comfort of my home, where I'd done all my preparation. When I took my 5th official GMAT mock, I visited the Jamboree test center, and I faced a lot of issues when it came to internet, electricity, and that really disrupted the flow of my exam, and I ended up scoring a 710 3 weeks before my actual exam date. I really didn't let that faze me, and 3 days later I went back to the test center and took the 6th official GMAT mock, and I scored a 760. But after these experiences, I really understood the importance of testing yourself outside of your comfort zone. So I really insist on taking at least a couple of mocks in environments that you're not familiar with, maybe a friend's house or a cafe. So coming to the next part of the video, I'd like to talk about mindset, which for me is the most important part of the GMAT. You've got to ask yourself, what is your motivation behind taking the exam? And what drives you to reach your eventual goals? For me, at the time I had about 3 years of work experience, and I really wanted to take the next step in my career. And joining a great B school was a great way to do that, and the GMAT was a means for me to reach my eventual goal. The next tip that I have is, believe you can do it. Believe you can actually score that 740 or that 760. I was on the other side of this camera about 2 years ago, and I was watching a lot of videos of people scoring really highly. And I would really put myself in their shoes, and I would imagine myself getting a really good score that would help me get into the B school of my choice. And I think really putting myself in that scenario really drove me and motivated me to put in the maximum effort from my end. The last tip that I have is please don't wait till you're perfectly prepared for the GMAT. You're never gonna come to a place where you're 100% satisfied with your preparation. So if you're in and around your target score, maybe about 10 or 20 points off, you can go ahead and book your date maybe 3 weeks or a month down the line, and then work towards filling in that 10 or 20 score gap. If you go ahead and employ some of the strategies and tips that I mentioned, I'm sure all of you will do a great job at the GMAT. So that's all from my end. Please subscribe for more videos such as this one. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments down below. This is my first video, so any feedback and suggestions would be greatly appreciated. That's all from my end. See you guys in the next video.